Well, welcome back to Life on Cars, where today we're back with the Aygo. We're going to do a basic service on the engine. So we're going to do oil filter change, check around, check the levels, etc. So hopefully you'll get something out of this, see what needs to be done. It's a nice simple little engine, but it does need regular oil changes to keep that little Toyota 1 litre 3-cylinder engine ticking over nicely. So hope you enjoy the video. Alright, so we're going to do a bit of a service on this little Toyota Aygo. I'm going to start off with doing the oil change. I'm just going to release that filler cap. Because it's leaving that off allows a bit of air to go in when you're draining oil, and also it's a good reminder that you need to put fresh oil back in. So we'll leave that there. We've got the car up on axle stands because the oil filter's underneath, but we are actually going to use a extraction pump to suck the oil out. And the reason I'm doing that rather than dropping the oil out of the sump is I'm working outside and it's a bit breezy, so I don't want the oil to blow all over the drive. So I've got this handy little extraction pump which basically uses a couple of adapters. We take the dipstick out, and then what we can do with this is we can poke this down the dipstick tube. So it's a good idea to just gently feed that down the dipstick tube. And then what we do is we've got that pipe going down the dipstick tube, and then what we do with this is we pump the handle. It starts to create a vacuum and the oil starts to come out, and we don't make any mess. I can see it there, look. Start to make its way down the pipe. And start to come into the container. Can actually hear it. So I'm going to let that do its thing. While that's draining out, we're also going to do a couple of checks so we can check the air filter. Quite an easy air filter to get out. This is these little clips here. And then this little fella lifts up like that, and then we can inspect the air filter. So as you can see, that one's not too bad. It's not full of dirt, which I didn't expect it to because it's not done a lot of miles since its last service, so that's fine. But if you needed to replace that, that's where you get to that. So while that oil's draining out, I think the best thing to do is to get underneath and start taking the oil filter off. So we're underneath the car, supported by axle stands, While that oil's coming out, I'm going to take the oil filter off, which is here. You know, these little Aygos, they only have 3.1 litres of oil in the engine, so it's probably one of the best maintenance things you can do. You know, 3.1 litres, that's not a lot of oil, so it doesn't want to be in there for too long. You should be doing this at least once a year on the little Aygo, and that'll keep the engine sweet. So by the way, if you haven't got an extraction pump, there's the sump plug 14mm, which you can take out and drain the oil that way, but you would need to change the washer as well, which you can get from Toyota. Like I say, I'm using extraction pump today because it's a bit breezy. I don't want the oil to go all over the drive, but we do need to get this filter off. So the way I do this, I use a pair of Eagle beaks, and I basically use these to slacken the filter off until I can turn it by hand, which is there, and then I get a jug just to make sure I can catch the oil as it comes off, because it will lose some oil, as you'll see. There we go. So bit of a messy job, I'm afraid. So make sure you've got gloves on, and then screw it off until it's ready to come off, and then you can turn it upside down and get the rest of the oil into the jug like that. And I'm just going to drop that into the jug and let that drip while I get these get something to wipe my hands with. So you just want to check that the rubber gasket is not stuck onto the oil filter housing, which this one isn't. As you can see, it's metal, clean. So we're ready to screw the new filter on. So we do have a genuine Toyota filter here for this Yaris. I always use genuine oil filters if I can, for peace of mind. It comes with a plastic covering on, which we can get off. It's already pre-greased, which is nice. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip a little bit of engine oil in there, just so the engine oil pump doesn't run dry when we first start the car up. Like I say, I'm just going to tip a little bit of engine oil in there. That's it. Just let that soak in, and then we've primed the oil filter ready for the engine to start. So all we need to do now is hand tighten the new oil filter on, just like that, and turn it basically as tight as you can get it by hand. And that's all you need to do. Give it a bit of a wipe, like that. Get rid of any spilt oil from the chassis. And then that's good to go. So let's see how the oil draining's getting on. Oh, you can hear it there. It's just got to the end. That's good timing. Let's have a look. So you can see, we're up to here now, which is absolutely perfect. Because every little mark on my drainer there is a litre. 1, 2, 3.1. So I know I've got the right amount of oil out. So that's what I'll be putting back, 3.1 litres. So I just need to remove my oil extraction hose. Just going to separate that off there. Just going to tip that up like that just to get the rest of that oil out. And then we'll pull this one out of the dipstick. Just give it a bit of a wipe. That. Let's pop that in the garage. So that's done its job again. It's a great piece of kit, that the oil extractor. If you look at my other videos on the Jag when I did the diff oil, I used that piece of equipment as well. So you can see the dipstick hole there where I put the tube down and the filler here. So we're going to put 3.1 litres of oil back in this Yaris now. Fresh oil, 5W30. Right, so we've got our engine oil there. 3.1 measured out. I'm going to use a funnel because especially when it's windy, it's not the easiest thing to do, tip oil into an engine. I always stop just before I get to the actual filling capacity and do a dip, just to make sure we're not going to overfill. So on the Yaris it has this dot here and this dot here, and the oil should be at the top here. So normally between the lower dot and the high dot is a litre for reference, normally on most dipsticks. So it's looking like we're about here, so we're probably half a litre down, which is about right for what I've got in the tub. So I'm going to put that in. Let it settle a bit, let it run down. See what it looks like on the stick now. Very hard to see because it's really clear, really nice and clean now. It looks like we're up to the top. You'll probably be able to see it better when we've run the engine and circulated the oil a little bit. Yeah, you probably can't quite see that on the camera, but looks like we're bang on the money. So we need to start the engine now. We need to watch for the oil pressure light to go out. Have a quick look underneath, make sure that filter's not leaking. And then shut off, let it settle and do another dip. Alright, so we're about to do the startup, and I'm watching for that oil pressure light there to go out soon after a few seconds. It might stay on for a few seconds as the oil circulates, but then it should go off. If it stays on for any longer than that, you've got something wrong, and there's probably oil pouring out underneath. There we go, oil pressure light's gone off. So I'm just going to let that circulate for 20 seconds. Shut it off now, let the oil settle back in the sump, and we'll have a look at the oil filter to make sure there's no leaks. Nice and dry, no sign of leaks. Happy with that. Don't worry about that, that's just where the old oil came out. Needs another little wipe, I think. But the oil filter's nice and dry. Alright, let's see where we are on the stick now. Alright, don't know if you can make out what we're just about here at the moment, just slightly below the, probably see it better on that side, just slightly below the top, but it's probably still rising a bit. Just switch the engine off, so we're going to give it a bit of time to settle. Yeah, it's come up a bit more already, look. We're up to here now, so we're nearly where we need to be. That lovely golden colour is what you want to see in an engine if you're ever going to buy a car. If you get super black oil on the stick, then that means it hasn't been serviced recently. It could have been neglected. You want to see a nice golden colour on the engine oil like that. It's looking like it might just need a little bit more oil in. So another little splash. Yes, that's it. So we're here now. Reckon another minute or so for that oil to run down and we'll be there. Yes. We're at the top now. I think we're where we need to be. One last check. Really simple car to work on these and do an oil change. Very, very simple. Yeah, we're pretty much there now. So I think in another couple of minutes that'll come up a tiny bit more as well. So I'm happy with that. Get the cap back on. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then we'll do a few more basic maintenance checks on this Yaris. Sorry, Aygo. So we'll have that washer bottle filled up with fresh water for the summer. Like that. I can see that the coolant level is where it needs to be. We'll try and show you that. See there, it's a nice colour as well. And it's at the top of the tank, which is where it needs to be. That's the minimum mark, I think, that lower mark down there. So yeah, I'm happy with that. If you do need to fill it up, it's in there. And there's the radiator cap. But yeah, that coolant's fine. Battery's maintenance free. There's no topping up to do there. And the brake fluid, we can see there the level is where it needs to be, spot on. There's a max marking just around the side there. That's right, so that's good. And it really is as simple as this for the little Aygo. Quick oil change. We've checked the air filter, that's fine. We've checked the levels. We've topped the washer bottle up. We know the coolant's fine. I'm going to lubricate the bonnet catch now. That's always a good thing to do. And then it's just things like checking around the lights and things like that. Check out another video where I changed the brakes on this on the front. That's an interesting one to watch. And then we are going to have a look at the rear brakes as well, so that'll be on my feed as well if you're interested in doing rear brake checks. A little bit of silicone lubricant on this. Might put a little bit on the throttle cable as well, just to make sure that's not going to stick. You can do your door hinges as well, it's a good idea with this sort of stuff. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little job on the Aygo there, doing the engine service. Just a basic service, but they are just a basic engine, you know. If you look after the oil, do an oil filter change at least once a year. It doesn't matter what mileage you do, just get that oil changed every year. That will look after that little engine. It's cheap to do, the filter's only a few quid. You only need 3.1 litres of oil, and it'll keep that engine ticking over. You know, the only other thing that would need doing on the Aygo, probably every 3 years, something like that, 30,000 mileage, set of spark plugs. So if we get time, we might show you how to do the spark plugs on the Aygo at some point. But please like and subscribe to Life on Cars. And hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen today, and You'll join me again very soon for some more car related and automotive related projects. Take care, have a nice night, and see you soon.